and welcome to Indus News Live from Islamabad. I am Hira Mustafa and these are the headlines. ISIS has claimed responsibility for rockets fired at Kabul airport that were intercepted by U.S. missile defense system. The White House confirmed the attack, saying evacuations at the airport were not interrupted as U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan enters final stages. It comes a day after U.S. forces launched second drone attack following Thursday's suicide bombing that left nearly 200 people dead. At least 10 civilians were reportedly killed in the U.S. strike. Pakistan's Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa says peace in the region will remain elusive until the resolution of the Kashmir issue. He was speaking to a delegation of Kashmir's Parliamentary and Defence Committee in Rawalpindi. General Bajwa said the military has achieved unprecedented success in the war on terror and bringing normalcy to the country with the support of the nation. Indian troops have killed another Kashmiri during a military raid near the line of control area in POONCH district. More than 400 Kashmiris have been killed since India stripped the region of its autonomy in 2019. In the occupied West Bank, Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz has met Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas in the first high-level meeting between the two sides in 10 years. Officials said Gantz traveled to the city of Ramallah for security and economic discussions with Abbas. The meeting comes hours after Israel's Prime Minister Naftali Bennett returned from Washington, where he met U.S. President Joe Biden. New Zealand has reported the country's first death linked to the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. Meanwhile, 1 million more Moderna's vaccine shots have been withdrawn as a contaminant was found in Japan. In Pakistan, 66 more people lost real life to the virus and 3,800 tested positive in the last 24 hours. Globally, the coronavirus death toll has surpassed 4.5 million, while the caseload has reached over 216 million. Well, those were the headlines. News in detail coming after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now the news in detail. ISIS has claimed responsibility for rockets fired at Kabul airport that were intercepted by the U.S. missile defense system. The White House confirmed the attack, saying evacuations at the airport were not interrupted as U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan enters final stages. This report has the details.
Threats of further ISIS attacks on the airport have been increasing as the U.S. races to complete its withdrawal by 31st of August. Witnesses say rockets were fired from a car in Khair Khana area. President Biden was briefed on the attack and was informed that operations at the airport were not interrupted. President Biden also attended a ceremony where the bodies of 13 U.S. soldiers killed in the Kabul airport attack arrived at the Delaware's air base. Early on Sunday, the U.S. military carried out a preemptive drone strike on an ISIS vehicle on the way to Kabul airport, killing 2 militants. A Central Command spokesman, Captain Bill Urban, says the military is investigating whether civilians were killed in the attack. International media quoted locals as saying at least 9 members of a family, including 6 children, were killed in the strike. The Taliban have condemned US airstrikes in Kabul, saying that it is illegal to carry out arbitrary attacks and kill civilians. Meanwhile, the UN Security Council is holding an emergency meeting on the Afghan situation today.
Now we're joined by our correspondent from Kabul, Sumaira Khan, who has further details on the latest developments in Afghanistan. Sumaira, ISIS has claimed responsibility for the rocket attack on Kabul airport as evacuations went down. Is there a threat of more attacks from the militant group?
Yes, Hira, we have been receiving this information, and even today we received this information that the militant group ISISK is planning more attacks on not on just Kabul International Airport, but they are also aiming to have these deadly attacks on different busiest pockets of the city that was just trying to come to normalcy after the Kabul's fall to Taliban. And according to the latest information that I had in the afternoon, the information said that the Taliban's silence over the alleged drone attacks, the airstrikes carried out by the U.S. administration is also being discussed within the quarters of ISISK. So right now there is a multi-pronged challenge for the city administration. Although we don't have a proper and a formal setup of city administration, but still the Taliban quarters were right now in a process to form a government and announce a government, or at least a grey structure of a government. They are right now lit from that process, and they are trying to chalk out a security plan for the city right now. Hira.
Right. Sumaira, do we have any updates on development surrounding Panjshir Valley?
Hira, Panjshir Valley is still in a besieged condition by the Taliban. They have besieged the valley, and it is for the first time that this kind of a military strategy has been adopted by the Taliban in the history for the first time, or by any group that wanted to conquer Panjshir Valley in the history of Afghanistan. First time the valley is being besieged from 4 sides, and Taliban on the front gates of the Panjshir Valley. They are sitting over there with a heavily armed and equipped contingent of Taliban led by Qari Fasihuddin, and the other group is right now in the process of negotiation led by Maulana Turabi, and Basir Salangai is of the view, who's leading from the Panjshir side. He's of the view that yes, there are hurdles in negotiating, but we hope that without any bloodshed, because the supplies are scarcing right now. There is a scarcity of food, ration, water, and other commodities of life for the valley. So the chances are being narrowed down they are being narrowed down for the residents of the valley. So I think this is going to be the scenario for Ahmed Masood as well to reconsider and revisit his policy towards surrendering, or towards going into a declaration or into any kind of pact or accord with the Taliban. So in a day or two, we are also hearing that some other news are coming from Kandahar as well. And today, even Maulana Turabi, leaving the negotiations in the middle for a while, he traveled to Kandahar to meet Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar for a while.
Right. Sumaira, the EU withdrawal from Afghanistan is almost in its final stages as the Taliban prepare to take over. Can you please tell us about the formation of a future government by the Taliban?
So, sorry, Hira, can you please come again? Just missed some parts due to distortion.
Sure. So I'm asking that the US from Afghanistan is almost in its final stages as the Taliban prepare to take over. Can you please tell us about the formation of a future government by the Taliban?
Yes, Hira, there is an extensive process that is still underway, and as I told you, the top military, the top leadership of Taliban, it is right now sitting in the Kandahar. We are also hearing this news that the formation of government of Taliban is going to be announced being at Kandahar, which will be a symbolic thing for everyone out there, because Kandahar was initially it was a hub of the power in Afghanistan for Taliban, as always, and right now they are trying to just reach a conclusion or a unanimous consensus that where should the cream leadership of Taliban should announce the upcoming formation of government for Afghanistan. Right now, that is going to be very crucial to discuss, and still we are trying to just connect all the dots, because there was no ISISK presence earlier. Just 4 days ago, all of a sudden it reappears, and it reappears with the statement of US President Joe Biden, because he was the one who announced it first, and he was the one who delivered the first security threat alert in his speech to the nation. So all these elements are being discussed, and the future war scenario of Taliban with the ISISK is also being discussed, what I heard from the Kandahar. So right now, formation of government dealing with ISISK and the Taliban's association and alleged cooperation with US for carrying out these over-the-horizon strikes. They are going to announce a few very important decisions, and we also heard something about these decisions in the background briefings and meetings in Kabul. So we are keeping our fingers crossed, and you might be seeing that I'm reporting from my room of the hotel, because the situation for foreign journalists is also being told that they have threats on them, so we are not allowed to go out for a while. So next reportage will be from the outskirts of Kabul for you, probably from Kandahar or from Panjshir, hopefully.
All right, Samira Khan, thank you for speaking to Indus News. Stay safe. And now we're moving on. China says it is necessary for all parties to engage with the Taliban and guide them actively. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi made the remarks during a phone conversation with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Wang warned that the hasty withdrawal of West is likely to provide an opportunity for the resurgence of terrorist organizations in Afghanistan. He urged the U.S. to work with the international community to provide the war-torn country with urgently needed assistance. Meanwhile, Blinken said the UN should clearly convey that the world expects the Taliban to safely evacuate foreign citizens. He also expressed his understanding and respect for Beijing's concerns on issues related to Afghanistan. The EU says it needs a rapid reaction force to prevent future crises such as in Afghanistan. In an interview, Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell said the EU needed to accelerate efforts to build a common defense policy. Reportedly, the bloc also seeks to prevent more uncontrolled large-scale illegal migration from Afghanistan. Meanwhile, German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas says Uzbekistan is ready to help Germany with Afghanistan evacuations. The list includes German citizens, local Afghan staff, and at-risk groups such as human rights activists and journalists. Maas is on a trip to Turkey, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Pakistan, and Qatar, among others, to find ways to evacuate these people. Moreover, Russian military is carrying out drills in Tajikistan amid instability in the neighboring Afghanistan. Pakistan's Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa says peace in the region will remain elusive until the resolution of the Kashmir issue. He was speaking to Kashmir's parliamentary delegation in Rawalpindi. According to the military's media wing, the Army Chief reaffirmed the Army's support to the Kashmir cause and the people of Kashmir. General Bajwa said the military has achieved unprecedented success in the war on terror and bringing normalcy to the country with the support of the nation. Indian troops have killed another Kashmiri during a military raid near the line of control area in POONCH district. More than 400 Kashmiris have been killed since India stripped the region of its autonomy in 2019. Pakistan has time and again asked the international community to take notice of Indian atrocities in the occupied valley, but a concrete response is yet to be seen. In the occupied West Bank, Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz has met Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas in the first high-level meeting between the two sides in 10 years. Officials said Gantz traveled to the city of Ramallah for security, civilian and economic discussions with Abbas. The meeting comes hours after Israel's Prime Minister Naftali Bennett returned from Washington, where he met U.S. President Joe Biden. A Palestinian official said Gantz and Abbas discussed steps towards improving relations, including a halt in Israeli military operations in the West Bank and allowing the unification of families with relatives inside Israel. The Arab coalition says it has destroyed 3 explosive-laden drones launched by Yemen's Houthi rebels towards southern Saudi Arabia. In a statement, the coalition said the rebels attempted to target Khamis Mushad city in the latest strike. The coalition said it is taking operational measures to foil attempts to target populated areas and civilian infrastructure in the kingdom. This comes a day after the Houthis killed at least 30 Yemeni soldiers in an airstrike on a military base. Yemeni President Abdurrabbu Mansour Hadi said the rebels will pay the price for their attack on Al-Anad air base. Iran says any regional political and security arrangements can only be achieved with the participation of all regional states, including Syria. Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian made these remarks in a meeting with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad in Damascus. Amir-Abdollahian said the presence of outsiders will not contribute to sustainable regional security and stability. He added that Iran will continue to support Syria in fighting all kinds of terrorism, especially economic terrorism and its effects. Meanwhile, al-Assad said Iran's cooperation has led to positive achievements, especially in fighting terrorism. This comes a day after the Baghdad summit, where Iranian and Gulf Arab officials met. Iran says the negotiations with Saudi Arabia will continue, as the dispute between the two is not irresolvable. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Saeed Khatibzadeh said being neighbors, Tehran and Riyadh share the mutual interest in ensuring regional security. In a press briefing, he stressed that Iran has never refused to enter a dialogue with Saudi Arabia. On the talks for the revival of 2050 nuclear deal, Khatibzadeh said these negotiations will proceed by a governing consensus. He added that decisions will soon be made to determine whether these talks will be conducted by Foreign Ministry or any other governing body. French President Emmanuel Macron has finished a two-day visit to Iraq, where he met regional leaders and authorities of Kurdistan region. Macron's trip to Iraq was aimed to support the regional dialogue and bring the hostilities to an end. French President also met French special forces involved in the ongoing fight against ISIS militants. Macron also visited Mosul's Al-Nouri Mosque, which was restored after it was destroyed by the ISIS. The militants blew up the mosque in the final weeks of the US-backed Iraqi campaign that dislodged them from Mosul. The UN nuclear watchdog says North Korea appears to have restarted its Yongbyon plutonium-producing reprocessing nuclear reactor. In a report, the International Atomic Energy Agency said the reactor has been discharging cooling water since July, suggesting it is operational. The IAEA called the development deeply troubling and a clear violation of UN Security Council resolutions. It said this is the first sign of operational activity at the reactor, which is at the heart of North Korea's nuclear program since December 2018. The IAEA was expelled from the country by North Korean government in 2009, so it relies on satellite imagery to carry out assessments. New Zealand has reported the country's first death linked to the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. Meanwhile, India has registered more than 42,000 new infections and 380 deaths overnight. Globally, the coronavirus death toll has surpassed 4.5 million, while the caseload has reached over 216 million. More in this report.
The global COVID-19 cases and deaths continue to rise unabated. The approaching flu season has the potential to drive new COVID surges as nations scramble to intensify their vaccination campaigns. In the US, hospitals in parts of the South are running out of oxygen supply as infections and COVID-19 related hospitalizations continue soaring. Top American disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci has predicted an additional 100,000 deaths by December. Australia's most populous state, New South Wales, has reported a record rise in new cases as the nation struggles to contain the Indian Delta variant.
But we also know from the information we have, the accumulation of cases and also the number that are still unvaccinated, that October is likely to be our worst month in terms of pressure on the system, and that's why we're gearing up for that. We have been for nearly 2 years. Can I state again, our hospital system is under pressure. Will we need to do things differently? Of course we will.
Meanwhile, New Zealand has decided to keep its largest city, Auckland, under an alert level for lockdown for another 2 weeks. As the UK's latest COVID travel rules have come into force, people travelling to England from Canada and Denmark will not need to isolate. Over in Greece, police and anti-mandatory COVID-19 vaccine protesters clashed once again.
All these people gathered here are united as one against mandatory things. We do not want to be forced or people fired. Nothing more. Our country's freedom must remain high. Nothing more. They need to stop calling us anti-vaccine or deniers. There isn't anybody like that here. And even if is, are they a minority?
Meanwhile, a contaminant was found in Moderna's vaccine in Japan's Gunma prefecture as the latest such case. In Indonesia, after almost 18 months, children have restarted schools as the country, facing one of the worst global outbreaks, eases some restrictions.
In Pakistan, another 66 people have died of coronavirus over the past 24 hours. The Health Ministry says the nationwide tally of fatalities has jumped to 25,670. It said the positivity rate has increased to 6.75% with 3,800 infections overnight. The ministry said over 93,000 cases are active, of which 5,612 are critical. Pakistan has registered over 1,156,000 cases since the pandemic began. Over 1,036,000 have recovered so far. At least 39 people have succumbed to dengue fever in India's northern Uttar Pradesh. The state chief said 32 children are among those dead. The Firozabad district is facing an outbreak of mosquito-related diseases, among children with cases of viral fever also being reported. The virus is estimated to kill 20,000 people every year, with many of them being children. Russian cosmonauts have discovered new cracks in a segment of the International Space Station. Space officials have warned that the fissures can widen over time. Officials previously said there can be an avalanche of broken equipment after 2025. The space station has suffered several recent incidents. Last-minute jet thrusters on a Russian research module reignited a few hours after docking, causing the entire station to pitch out of its normal flight position. More news stories coming up after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. China's Mars rover has completed 100 days of exploration on the red planet. Zhurong drove down from its landing platform to begin exploration on May 22nd. The six-wheel solar-powered rover with a mass of 240 kilograms has traveled 889 meters on the Martian surface so far. The country's National Space Administration says the wanderer has gathered around 10 gigabytes of primary data. China's Tianwen-1 mission was launched on the 23rd of July 2020. It landed on May 15th at a designated area at the southern part of Utopia Planitia. In Brazil, a cafe in Rio de Janeiro has combined cats and coffee for a cause. Customers can enjoy cat-shaped treats and even take one home. More in this report.
At the Gato Cafe in downtown Rio de Janeiro, coffee and tea are served with whiskers and a purr. In its pink-walled interior, customers can purchase lattes dusted with cat silhouettes and accompanied by paw-shaped biscuits, while cats lounge lazily in an adjacent room.
Eu digo que eles são os melhores.
Cats are the best co-workers in the world. Just by entering the cat area, you can already perceive a different vibe. Firstly, cats have incredible energy. Secondly, I can say they give back everything that they get.
In addition to offering feline company, Gato Cafe, which opened last July, simultaneously functions as an adoption site for abandoned cats rescued by an organization called Bunker Whiskers.
When I got here and looked at this place, I couldn't even believe it existed. I am in paradise with all of these cats. I am in love with them. It feels like I am living in a dream full of kittens.
Cat cafes were first popularized in Asia, where they originated in Taiwan in 1998.
U.S. television actor Ed Asner, winner of a record 7 Emmy Awards, has died at age 91. His publicist said Asner died of natural causes. He was famous for his role in classic TV series The Mary Tyler Moore Show and Lou Grant. Asner was also known for his liberal politics and his criticism of U.S. administration in 1980s over involvement in Central America. Asner was integral to the success of the situation comedy Mary Tyler Moore, which ran on CBS from 1970 to 1977. And now it's time to take a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. The US stocks are in the green as the market continued to rise in the final days of August. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose nearly 0.1% higher at open. The S&P 500 also landed in the positive category, opening close to 0.5% higher. The tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite rose close to 1% higher at open. Meanwhile, oil prices have risen as OPEC Plus looked set to go ahead with a planned oil output increase. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at indus.news.